Hello. So I'm Sylvie Chevillard, and I'm exhibiting in Sainte-Maxime in France. I was born in Paris, but my residence is in the center of France, in the Périgord, which is very famous for food, of course, and also because it is one of the roots of humankind. You can visit the caves, well, it's a beautiful country. So I have been brought up in the respect of patrimoine, I don't know if the word is really patrimoine, but heritage, I think it is French heritage, and very interested from the very beginning of my life in the volumes, in clay, in drawings, in art. So, would you like to have a look around?
Yes, please. We have here a combination of sculptures
that's right.
and drawings.
Yeah, actually, I have been drawing all my life long. When I was a child, my grandfather on my mother's side was an architect, and he had an eye on my drawings as a child, and he was interested, and he talked a lot about his passion for architecture. And on my father's side, my grandmother also used to draw on the porcelain de Paris, porcelain of Paris. I don't know if there's a special word for that. She used to draw there on the plates and dishes. And so when we went to her house, she wanted us to be calm, and she gave us painting, crayons, things, and it was a joy for me. It was really my base in art.
The beginning.
Yes, the very beginning of my interest. So maybe we could go around and see the two sides of my creations. I feel I am a sculptor because I used to dance when I was young, and of course, you know what life is. I couldn't dance anymore because I was too much taken into everyday life and my family and married, children and so on. And so I really think that if I sculpt, it is because I used to dance, because then I needed to have the volumes. I needed to be in the open air in a way. So what you will see on my sculptures, as well as in my drawings, it is the movement, it is the dance, it is the life. And I always say that my inspiration is wide open because it is life. It is lecture, reading, theatre, people I meet, dance, my reactions, sometimes a bit strong and aggressive against things of life. So it is everything.
Yes. So your primary medium is?
My primary medium is clay, as you can see here. This one is very basic. To tell you the truth, I was a bit fed up and cold in my studio, and instead of rebuilding a big mass of clay from my bin, as I put my bits and pieces in the bin, I decided to take a stick from the garden and put this stick of gardening into the clay, and I started building a sort of column, one, and then later on a second one, just to check how big my sculpture could be with no affection, nothing difficult. And to my surprise, it got up to about that size, and immediately, of course, I could think of the caves in the Dordogne with the stalagmites and stalactites. But as I am a sculptor, I don't want to leave it just like that. I am very respectful of the medium, the material, the clay itself. It talks, it is very lively, but I am a sculptor, and then I always draw. It's not a drawing, but it's little sculpture so that you know that it is not just at random. It is something which I have decided. And after that, I fire my work either in a gas kiln, which is not very big. It is a raku, if you know what it is, raku kiln, or straight into the wood. In the fireplace, I have a very little fireplace which allows me to fire some of my sculptures.
What do you like about clay?
It's another myself. It's an alter ego, I say, because I'm not going to talk too much about what I have in mind, but it is something which is adaptable. It is at one and the same time strong, useful, just under your hand, not sophisticated at all, and this is what I like. I never reproduce my work, neither in another, what's the word, medium,
Yes.
nor in drawing. It is just one expression of art, full stop. And I don't want it to be reproduced in bronze, because to my point of view it would be a reproduction, and I want it to be straight away from my hands into the amateur, the person who likes it, hands. So it is very straightforward, very straightforward is the word.
Yes.
Right.
There seems to be a connection between your sculptures and your drawings.
I am the same person when I draw and when I sculpt, except that I am deeper in clay, and it is stronger, more sporty, if I can say that word. I have to be stronger, and it's very tiring. And when I travel, I go to places I have to go. It is extremely difficult to carry my clay, so I carry my little papers, ink, and again it is very easy, an easy work in a way, because it is just straightforward. I stop, I listen to music, and off it goes. And what is special, and I have discovered that I am completely right-handed. I have been right-handed all my life long. And to my great surprise, 20 years ago I had an accident, and I have to do things with my left hand. And to my great surprise, I could draw better with my left hand than with my right hand. It was more reactive, impulsive, natural, and so I have been going on like that, because sometimes I close my eyes and just draw lines, and when I open my eyes from the lines, I'm not very special about that, lots of people do that, but I open my eyes and I continue the track. I can see things in my lines, or spots, I sometimes throw the ink with my paintbrush. And so from that on, I carry on. And you have an example here of lines and things which I drew without knowing where I would end up. And finally, when I opened my eyes and when I started, trying to get into my own drawing, I could feel that it was the dance, it was a sort of family. And so I went on with a bit, a few details, so that these lines would become people around one structure, which is the center. And it's a sort of, it could be my family, since we were four daughters, four sisters, and my brother, who was the last. So maybe it is that, but it was not an intention from my part.
So you are inspired by your family, the memories.
Yes, you have roots and you can't escape from them. but every day is a new inspiration. You are an inspiration behind the camera. And the talk I'm doing in English, sorry for the mistakes, but you know, I'm inspired by everything. If I read the newspapers, sometimes I'm cross. If I read a book, if I have a discussion with somebody, if I see beautiful things, natural things, like the caves, the stalagmites, everything is, so it's very easy, in fact. I'm never worried about, oh, what am I going to do, because everything can be an inspiration. And on top of that, I listen to music. And when I go to my studio, one day after another, if I haven't finished my work, I am immediately back to it, because I switch on the same music, and it helps me to go back into the same inspiration and energy. So this one is one kind of working, because I have a sort of bowl on which I put my clay, you know, quite thin, and my gestures, my movement with my knife have to be subtle, lighter than when I work in a mass like that. And so this is a kind of sculpture, a kind of movement and gesture, which you can see here as well. This one, for me, is the walking of a pilgrim, with the wind, the dirt, the intense movement, and of course you can see the little face, expression of will and pleasure at the same time, because the pilgrims always have an inside will when they walk. It's not a walk for nothing.
You seem to give attention equally to men and women.
Yes, although as a woman, I tend to have a natural, you know,
Tendency to.
Yes, to do the women's expressions. So you can see over there an old woman with a baby.
A grandmother.
A grandmother. So it has nothing to do with a religious origin. It's simply that I became a grandmother, and I wanted to express the tenderness that I rediscovered after years. And this is a sculpture corresponding to a certain step of my life. So it is a woman instead of a man. But with this sculpture, which is very masculine, and actually the roots of this desire to make a sculpture like this comes from 3 exhibitions that I saw of photographers who were globetrotters, of photographers traveling around the world. And the way one of them is called Schneck, the other, who I saw in Nantes last year. The other one is a very famous photographer, Irving Penn. You have heard of him, maybe? Well, I suppose you did. And I went to his exhibition in Paris, and the way they catch the look, the sight, the eyes of the person they are taking a photo of is so intense that I really wanted to express this sort of connection between the person who takes the photo and the person who is taken. So I made 3 sculptures, very masculine, as you can see. I still have one, and I wanted to have a black surrounding, but here everything is light and bright, so I adapted to show it on a white thing. And what I wanted to show too in this sculpture, apart from the, you know, sort of stiffness of the look and intensity, I wanted to express masculine power because to me it's a Maasai, but I'm sorry to say that I never went to the Maasai country, Tanzania and so on. But anyway, and the Maasai have a way to use glass as jewels, and I was very interested in that. That sort of playing with the glass, and I myself pick up bits and pieces of glass which I use in my sculptures from time to time, either as a decoration or just as a test to see what color it becomes and so on. So I was very happy to see that what I put here, which was le goulot de la bouteille, the bottle top, and it made these little drops like pearls. I don't know if you can see them, but I thought it was such a surprise to me that I was really happy. And after that, those 3 sculptures, which are very masculine, I was so tired because they weigh 22 kilos before my potter's work, because I cut the sculpture, I dig, I take off some of the clay, then I have to build up again my sculpture. Sometimes it's a little different from the very first sculpture, and then I have to fire it after having left it for quite a long time to dry. Thank you.
Yes.
So after that I was exhausted, and I really wanted to have another breath, and that's why I made 2 very feminine sculptures. The one which is here, which is very feminine, remembering of course the dance, carnival, and the name is Venezia, so you see?
With a mask.
Yes, with the mask. And what you can see here are just leftover of clay, which are very fine, very thin, and I sometimes use them as sort of decoration, just to have a contrast. This one has ink on it. As I use ink for my drawings, I also use ink because clay absorbs, okay? The word is okay? The ink, and instead of being like ceramic or enamel, it is thinner and lighter, which I like. I don't want to cover my clay with red or very thick things. I adore pottery. If you go to Valoris, not far from here, it's beautiful. I love those potteries, but it's not my way of expressing things. So I did this one and another one after my very heavy work with the African portraits.
And in the back, what do we have over there?
On the right?
Yes.
What do you mean?
The drawing?
The drawings?
Yeah.
So this drawing, for example, is exactly the same origin. Just I throw some ink, and thanks to the spots of ink and my movements at the beginning, very, what can I say? I don't know where I'm going, but then I give a meaning to the drawing, to the spots, to the colours. And there, before putting a sort of head here, it was just spots of ink, which I liked the colours, and then I suggested that it was a woman. And I put a sort of head, and that's all.
And we have Lilith.
Lilith, yes.
We spoke about her yesterday.
So Lilith here is very peculiar, because all my life I thought, and I was told, that Adam's wife was Eve. And little by little I heard of that name, Lilith, being the first wife of Adam. I was, a bit surprised, and then I wanted to know more about Lilith. And actually I discovered that Lilith doesn't belong to the Bible. Everybody knows the story of Adam and Eve, but Lilith used to be the first wife of Adam, and you can trace Lilith in the Talmud, for example, or in other myths. And when God decided to make two human beings from clay, which for me is very important,
Yes.
because clay is really the base of everything. And anyway, he made Adam and Lilith in the same mass of clay, equally strong and the same. But the story says that Adam, more or less, wanted to be stronger than Lilith. And Lilith thought that no, she didn't want to have that strength from Adam, and she left. Of course, Adam was furious, and he shouted, "Help, help, God, please come and help me." And God came, and of course, as God is, very masculine, it's always he with a capital H, and always masculine. He decided to grasp Lilith and take her back, but not to Adam, take her back to the devil. So apparently, I never checked, but apparently Lilith became the devil's wife. This was her punishment. So to me, it's a bit uncomfortable to know that God punished Lilith because she felt free. She wanted to be free. She didn't want to obey. Anyway, she became the devil's wife, and from then on, her
image became very negative.
That's right. Her image became negative. The dark side, the side of underneath.
Almost like a vampire, kind of.
Perhaps not vampire, but the one who is a sorceress, the one who tries to grasp you and gives you bad ideas and so on and so forth, which is not quite my opinion of women. Anyway, after that, I decided to make my own Lilith from a very rough clay. You can see that it's very rough, because I wanted to remind people and to remember that the origin of humankind comes from clay, from things which were extremely chaotic. And when I built my Lilith, all of a sudden she disappeared from my hands, and she became a sort of giraffe African woman. And so I was a bit sorry, but I have learned not to be too authoritative with the clay, and I decided, okay, it's an African woman, why not? And I left the necklaces around her neck, and then I went for my lunch. It was lunchtime. When I came back, Lilith was on the floor. The giraffe woman was on the floor. She fell from my table. And so I remembered the story, and I thought, Lilith is very independent. And I picked up my Lilith, or my giraffe woman. She was completely, what could I say, damaged. And I put the clay back onto my table, and then I decided that she wanted to be Lilith and not the giraffe woman. And so I went back to the idea, trying to be deep into the thoughts of Lilith, and here she is. But the necklaces made me then think of Eve, and what you can see here is the suggestion of the snake.
The wisdom.
Yes, with two eyes which are glass again, you see.
Yes.
So this one is quite special.
A very powerful statement.
I hope so. To me, I was very involved in my sculpture here. And this one here is quite special too, because you feel he's falling, but he's not. He's very strong. But I wanted it to be a sort of link with my drawings, and so all the colors you have here are inks, different kind of inks, and I played with the inks because I wanted to go back to another material, can you say, like wood, water, the weeds in the water here, and yet her face is still here, very precise, very suggestive of a woman.
How do you feel that you have evolved over time?
At the very beginning, I was a bit shy with the clay. I wanted it to be my teacher, and I didn't want me to be too strong. And little by little, I got confidence in clay, in myself. So I think I have evolved in my personality as a sculptor. But I can very well decide right now that I'm tired. I want to make something very feminine, very subtle, very a dance, And some people could think, this is the work of a very beginning, the beginning of a sculpture. It's ups and downs.
Yes.
Because as it is life, I sometimes, feel it's not a straight line in your life. You have ups and downs. You go forward and backwards. So in my clay, it is the same, I think. But I don't mind. I'm much stronger now.
And there's another room.
Yes, there is.
How long did it take you to do all this work, all the drawing, all the sculptures? How long have you been prepared this? Over a year?
Well, actually, to prepare the exhibition, it was very short because it started last December. I knew that they would invite me in April, so all the work you see was not done between December and April, of course. So it goes back to last year. It's about a year, a big year of work. And here you have 2-3 other sculptures which are made in the mass. And this one is a good example, I think, of what I like. You see, just the personality of clay itself, which I find interesting, with mica, which, the shiny thing. And here, the dark part corresponds to my fire, which was much stronger here, and it gave this sort of spot. At the beginning, I was a bit disappointed, and then I thought, no, don't be disappointed. It is just the talk of the clay itself. But as I am a sculptor, again, I want it to be figurative in a way, and that's why there is a suggestion of a face underneath, under the hood, and hand, and the arm here. So this one is perhaps one of the most expressive of my work. Let it be, but I'm here to help.
Do you ever go back to your work and add?
From time to time I add some pigments afterwards. This is the case here. I added pigments from not very far from here, Provence, because I fell in love with the pigments of the Roussillon, which are very fine clay, powder, and so they're called pigments, which I sometimes add as well as ink. Here. This is ink, again, in this butterfly, because I adore Puccini and Mrs. Butterfly. So you can see I added some ink, And if I turn it, you can see that just watching this side, you might not really know what it is, but it's a woman behind. It is the movement.
Oh, you can see the dress.
Yes,
The
maybe.
dress.
Yeah.
And the drawings here, are they related?
Are they?
Related, the drawings?
Oh,
Or they are separate, they have separate themes?
they are separate, but they are related. I am the relation. Because I draw, as I said, very impulsive. I'm impulsive in my drawing. I don't, in my drawing and neither in my sculptures, I don't plan, I don't make any project. I just live and have things which sometimes appear. And I think the link between all my drawings is that. It is my life which all of a sudden reappears into lines and spots, and then after the lines and spots, I draw myself. The two meanings of to draw, I draw and I drag myself into a new way. So here it is Palmyre. Is that the correct pronunciation in English?
Yeah.
Palmyre. And so I was very cross when in Afghanistan and also in Palmyre, of course, last year or 2 years ago, they destroyed such a wonderful work of architectures, of life, of souvenir, and so I was very cross. And I decided that I would drop my ink and throw my ink with a sort of aggressivity, but I didn't know really where to go. And after that, I felt I should have a contrast between the spots and things like that, which were completely at random. And so I decided to draw more precise lines which corresponding to the bâtiment, the buildings of Palmyre. But what interests me in architecture, it is that it is linked to humankind, to the community, and so I drew my little people around here. Some are only suggested, some are more precise thanks to the colors here, because Palmyre was the way, the root of the spices,
Yes.
and so it was commerce, it was a place of meet where people met, where people lived, and that's why I made Palmyre. And just for fun, to be quite honest, I drew the camels, which are the animals of commerce and such a help
They are the
for
carriers.
the carriers. So this one is a bit special, maybe, but again, it is the same technique, throwing, just letting me go. Don't worry, it's only a paper, it doesn't matter. If I'm not happy with my painting, to the bin, and that's it.
Yes. Freestyle.
But I'm very glad because I discovered the story of the left hand, which I'm not going to say now, but it is true that, your hemisphere, right, left, corresponds to different capacities. So after using my left hand, very spontaneous, very lively and with no thought, with my right hand I go back to the drawing and then I draw more geometrical things, lines like these ones. So, you see, so the last things like that are drawn with my right hand. Sorry.
How long is this exhibition?
So it started last week and it will end on the 10th of May. And I'm here this week till Sunday. Then somebody helps and is here all day. Well, not every day, but not all day. It is from 3 o'clock to 6 o'clock in the evening. And then I come back on the 2nd of May, and I will be here to take you around, explain, and just to have a communication. I'm very talkative today, but I'll be very pleased to listen to your own reactions.
Thank you so much, Madame Chevillard.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. From time to time I add some pigments afterwards. This is the case here. I added pigments from not very far from here, Provence, because I fell in love with the pigments of the Roussillon, which are very fine clay, powder, and so they're called pigments, which I sometimes add as well as ink. Here. This is ink, again, in this butterfly, because I adore Puccini and Mrs. Butterfly. So you can see I added some ink, and if I turn it, you can see that just watching this side, you might not really know what it is, but it's a woman behind. It is the movement.
Oh, you can see the dress.
Yes.
And the drawings here, are they related?
Are they?
Related, the drawings?
Oh,
Or they are separate, they have separate themes?
they are separate, but they are related. I am the relation. Because I draw, as I said, very impulsive. I'm impulsive in my drawing. I don't, in my drawing and neither in my sculptures, I don't plan, I don't make any project. I just live and have things which sometimes appear. And I think the link between all my drawings is that. It is my life which all of a sudden reappears into lines and spots, and then after the lines and spots, I draw myself. The two meanings of to draw, I draw and I drag myself into a new way. So here it is Palmyre. Is that the correct pronunciation in English?
Yeah.
Palmyre. And so I was very cross when in Afghanistan and also in Palmyre, of course, last year or 2 years ago, they destroyed such a wonderful work of architectures, of life, of souvenir, and so I was very cross. And I decided that I would drop my ink and throw my ink with a sort of aggressivity, but I didn't know really where to go. And after that, I felt I should have a contrast between the spots and things like that, which were completely at random. And so I decided to draw more precise lines, which corresponding to the bâtiment, the buildings of Palmyre. But what interests me in architecture, it is that it is linked to humankind, to the community, and so I drew my little people around here. Some are only suggested, some are more precise thanks to the colors here, because Palmyre was the way, the root of the spices,
Yes.
and so it was commerce, it was a place of meet where people met, where people lived, and that's why I made Palmyre. And just for fun, to be quite honest, I drew the camels, which are the animals of commerce and such a help
They are the
for
carriers.
the carriers. So this one is a bit special, maybe, but again, it is the same technique, throwing, just letting me go. Don't worry, it's only a paper, it doesn't matter. If I'm not happy with my painting, to the bin, and that's it.
Yes. Freestyle.
But I'm very glad because I discovered the story of the left hand, which I'm not going to say now, but it is true that, you know, your hemisphere, right, left, corresponds to different capacities. So after using my left hand, very spontaneous, very lively and with no thought, with my right hand I go back to the drawing and then I draw more geometrical things, lines like these ones. So, you see, so the last things like that are drawn with my right hand. Sorry.
How long is this exhibition?
So it started last week and it will end on the 10th of May. And I'm here this week till Sunday. Then somebody helps and is here all day. Well, not every day, but not all day. It is from 3 o'clock to 6 o'clock in the evening. And then I come back on the 2nd of May and I will be here to take you around, explain, and just to have a communication. I'm very talkative today, but I'll be very pleased to listen to your reactions.
Thank you so much, Madame Chevillard.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.